Hi, everyone. Yeah, I mean, very official feeling intro. But I think what we want to kind of hopefully convey in this talk is that, like, we don't always really know what we're doing, and sometimes that's okay. And I think it's easy to feel like it's a really stressful thing. So we're just going to try and share a bit about ourselves, the weird things that have ended up happening to us, and the places it's led us, and just like, again, like we said, trusting the process. So
Yeah, I think it's again like what Conrad said. It's all about like every day we go into the office, we don't really know what to expect, and somehow we just end up at the end of the day figuring shit out, and just like, oh, cool, we survived another day, and then we're gonna go at it again tomorrow and have a lot of fun. But yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Let's get into it. Yeah, that's us. Oh, we timed that well, sitting on the right side.
Should we
That's
switch?
good.
Is it easier?
No,
for
no,
you
it's the
guys?
right way around.
Is the right way around?
Okay, perfect.
Oh, lucky us. Yeah.
Going great, smashing it, amazing. Yeah, that's us.
Sherwin.
We are senior creatives at Mother. Been there for about two and a bit years now,
Yeah.
almost. But yeah, and so what we wanted to do is we wanted to start off with a bit of a disclaimer. And that is, we do not know everything. So I think when we were in your guys' position a few years ago, and we used to come to talks like this, we were always like, oh my God, fuck, they've got it all so sorted out, and like, they really know what's going on, and like, I know nothing, and I'm an idiot, and these people must have something that I really don't have. And then we're now here and we realize that's not true, and we also still don't really know. Maybe we know a little bit more, hopefully, but we don't know everything. So, and like we said, a lot of this stuff is very much like personal things that have happened to us. It's our journey. Take all of it with a bit of a pinch of salt. By no means is there anything in here that we're like, this is true for everyone all the time, and you have to listen to it. Because like we said, we don't know everything. So, yeah. Now that I've set that up. And so pretty much what we want to talk about is, yeah, like we said, embracing the weird journey. Like we said, we've ended up in quite a few weird places, geographically, conceptually, emotionally. So yeah, I think
Mentally,
yeah,
spiritually, and everything else.
yeah. So we want to go back a little bit. So a bit about us. So when two people love each other very much. Okay, maybe a bit far back. We don't need to go, we can skip past. But just a little bit about our background and where we've come from to talk to the strange journey.
Cool, so I'm a ex-soldier. I have not killed anyone that we can talk about or say anything more about to that. But I'm from Singapore and it's conscription, so I have to do 2 years, and that's when I was there. Everything was very regimental. I don't know if anyone's from Singapore here, but you know, it's a very clean city, very beautiful city. But I think in terms of creative exposure, it's still growing. There's a lot of opportunities, but I just needed to get out of there and see what's out there, and that's where I met Conrad. And when I moved to London and went to Central St. Martin's. Yeah. That's where we met, yeah.
It's me. Yeah, so again, a little bit about me, also weird background. I probably should clarify some of the points on there. Yeah, so I actually used to be a marine biologist and like a marine biologist research assistant before getting into the kind of creative world and advertising world specifically. So he hasn't killed anyone. I have been responsible for killing a fair few fish. And yeah, I probably should clarify the part about cocaine. I don't do it, it's really bad. But that's actually, funny anecdote, that's actually how they humanely put fish down, which there's a derivative of cocaine called MS-222. And basically what they do is they put that in the water. The fish just like swim around, get really hyped up. They're like, and then their hearts just like stop. And then so it's like they go out having like the most amazing time. And that actually, fun fact, is how they ethically euthanize fish. Moving on. So yeah.
I thought you want to make a point about our outfits today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, like, ironically, it must be really confusing because he's the one that, like, is in the army, and I'm weirdly wearing camouflage, and he kind of looks like he's in the Navy. So, yeah, we messed that one up.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Sherwin said, so after we kind of both came from our sort of
We're set in the same position as well. Look.
Amazing. We're so consistent. Yeah, so we basically came from our weird backgrounds. We both kind of decided in our own ways that it's not really, you know, for us, those previous things, not fan of the army, science maybe isn't what we thought. So we both basically ended up pursuing a more creative career. And then, so this is us at St. Martin's. So I think the kind of first lesson, at least for us in terms of embracing the process, is so this was us at our kind of post-graduation final project, where basically we had a lot of people come in from the industry to our uni, look around and be like, why should I give you a job? And the thing that basically we were assigned to do is like, you have one piece of work that you can show, and that needs to be the thing that somehow gets you hired as a graduate, right? So for us, we were like, okay, well, if the whole thing is getting a job and our whole thing is about coming up with ideas, instead of us just showing one idea, what if we had nothing and we just sat there for a whole week whilst everyone else is done with uni, they're off getting pissed in the sun, and then we were like, maybe we'll just do free work. So basically, for about a week, we were sat in uni on our own. We had people coming and going from the industry. We started off with absolutely no ideas, but we basically got people to give us a brief, and then we basically wrote a response to that brief, and we did a live stream, and then we just basically just tried to answer as many as we possibly could. So I think for us, in terms of that, embracing the process, we kind of tried to take a bit of a step back and look at, like, what do we actually need to get out of this? And it's like, well, we obviously need a job. So, like, it's about us and coming up with ideas, so why don't we just, like, fuck it and see what happens?
Yeah, it was also a really good way to get people's emails. So they had to give us their emails, and then we send them our answers to the brief. So we just had, like, tons of emails from the industry, and without them giving us their card. So it was really fun day. Fun week, very, very tough week. I think we did about 100 plus.
Like 100 something ideas. Not all of them were good.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie and be like, they're all bangers, but they weren't. But again, it's like, for us, we really just wanted to kind of look at, okay, what's the problem? What's the thing we've got to do? And, like, if we really look at what is expected of this process, where does that lead us? Instead of just going in like, this idea was great, I'm just going to print it off, put it up nice and big and be like, oh, nice to meet you, can I have a job? So again, we just wanted to kind of, how do we sort of take a step back and look at it in a different way?
We also thought it would be a really good idea to live stream the whole thing. But it's somewhere in the internet now. I don't know. Don't search. Don't look for it. But
and then from there as well, obviously we kind of went out into the world of work, and as I'm sure pretty much everyone is aware, COVID was a thing. So again, we kind of found ourselves in this weird situation where shit has well and truly hit the fan. Long story, we basically ended up other side of the world. So I was in Sweden, he was in Canada. We messed the slides up on this one though, not very good. I was in Sweden, he was in Canada, and we were like, okay, it's all about remote work now. And you know, you've got to find work, we want to find people to work with. Again, how are we just like, okay, it is what it is, we are where we are, what could we do that is like something we would enjoy or something that would work out for us in this situation? And again, we sort of took a bit of a step back, we kind of looked at everything and where we were, and we were like, well, it's all about remote work, so like, why don't we just push it to the nth degree? And then basically we just made a virtue of going into the middle of fucking nowhere and working from there with slightly dodgy internet connection, but just kind of putting ourselves out there as a silly joke and embracing the whole point of remote work. So just, again, winging it for like a stupid way that maybe we can make the best out of a shit situation. Yeah, all right, boring, enough about us. Moving on. And so I think one of the things we kind of wanted to also touch on is like the power of naivety. So I think for us, we both kind of came from these sort of random backgrounds, and there's always going to be briefs or brands or whatever you might come to and be like, I know nothing about it. And sometimes, you know, sometimes knowing more stuff is good, but then sometimes like not knowing everything is okay. And sometimes you can kind of, if you're not super familiar with all of those rules that kind of previously existed, like, everyone knows that's how they've done it for the past 100 years, idiot. If you're not aware of some of those limitations and that kind of emotional baggage, like sometimes that can really just help you, again, take a bit of a step back, look at it and be like, I don't know, maybe you could do something like that. And everyone's like, oh, weird, I never thought about it that way. So it's one of those things, don't feel intimidated by the fact that you might end up in a weird situation that you don't necessarily know much about. I think, like, again, look into it, do your research, that's always helpful, but like, you don't have to feel like it's a completely hopeless thing just because you don't know everything about it. And with that said as well, it's like, we have more shit ideas than anyone else. I think for us, we're just like, you know, you always end up in a certain situation, you end up where you are, but then it's just like, you don't have to try and sit and wait for the perfect idea to come up. It's like, it's not that deep. And sometimes it can be like an idea that comes early, or I think a lot of pieces of work, as you'll probably see as we get through it, kind of almost started out as a bit of a joke, and then it's like, actually, could be kind of good. So it's like, it doesn't have to be that deep. It doesn't have to be so big and so perfect and be something that's like, yes, this is a very smart idea and I'm so good at what I do. Sometimes there are just ideas that come out, but the sort of mantra that we try to live by is just, I think, I like, I make, and we just like, comes up and we're like, that'd be really cool. And we're like, yeah, that would be pretty cool. How do we make it? No idea. All right, whatever, let's figure it out. And I think an example of that, the project, so we just had a thought, again, this is kind of a few years ago, we're just like, this could be really cool, but like, we know absolutely nothing about fashion, clearly. So we were like, all right, whatever, but it still could be cool, maybe we'll figure something out. And so that's how we ended up making this project, which was just like a really small thing. We were just like, again, post-COVID world, people were like, no one was touching each other, but people were kind of talking about feeling lonely, not having any sort of human contact. So we were like, oh, it'd be quite funny to make a handbag that was like also a hand. So we just were like, let's wing it, put together, make this kind of custom handbag, took a mold of one of our hands, put it together, got a mate to take a picture of it and just put it out there. And it kind of like, which was quite a nice surprise because we just didn't expect much out of it, but it kind of popped off and quite a lot of people liked it. So that was cool. And again, another like fashion idea we had started off from a stupid conversation. This is just like a jacket we ended up making where we're like, oh, it's quite funny how you have these shoplifting tags on jackets, but then wouldn't it be funny if, because we had something where it just got left on there, and we're like, oh, it'd be quite funny if you just put even more of them on there and just embrace the fact that it's on there. So basically, yeah, it's just a jacket covered in shoplifting tags. So again, it was a sort of stupid idea, didn't really know, but we were like, oh, it would be quite cool. So we just went on like Alibaba and bought like 200 shoplifting tags and just spent ages putting them on a jacket. And again, just had that thought, shit it out, make something, and go, oh, it's kind of fun, and then just see what happens.
Yeah, I think we kind of find ourselves always in a situation where we just take things to the nth degree, and I think like you'll be surprised how fun and how interesting things will be if you just make them really, 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 really ridiculous. Just like go all in. If you want to make a big burger, you make a fucking huge burger. You know, if you want to add 2 more tags to a jacket, you fill it up. You know, you fill it up to the brim. And then it'll be like, oh, you're trying to make a point. We always find ourselves in that situation where we just really lean into it and just embrace it.
Yeah, I think like just assess the situation, see where you are and go, all right, well, it looks like we're going this way, so I might as well really go that way and see what happens. Because again, even when you find yourself in those ridiculous situations, it's really easy to go in with like, but I had this plan in my head and it was supposed to go this way, and then shit will always happen. I think like the best metaphor we've ever heard about making work in advertising is it's like a car rolling down a hill. You start off with your idea and you're like, oh, amazing, it's in such good condition. And you start rolling downhill. Maybe the better your idea is, the better state the car is in. As it starts rolling down the hill, it might just instantly smash you into a tree. No budget, dead, project's gone. Or it's like, oh, going down and maybe it's a little bit scratched. Maybe this happens, maybe bits come off of the idea. And it's just, once that process starts rolling, things will always change. But it's then kind of, how do you navigate those obstacles that kind of come up and just sort of lean into the process? And hopefully you make it down to the bottom of the hill in one piece and you're already happy with what happened. But I think one sort of relatively recent lesson for us in terms of embracing this process is, so the other year we did this project which was really fun with Robert De Niro and Asa Butterfield for Uber. So we were shooting this, you kind of go in, you have a bunch of different scripts, stuff like that. You get, we get to a script that's like, okay, we're all feeling really good about it. Everyone's really happy, amazing, wicked. This should be really fun. Psych. So basically then, as we're kind of going through this process, things are going kind of like smoothly, we're going to shoot it. And then we get this message during the shoot. Oh, shit, guys, there's been a leak. And we're like, people care about advertising enough to do leaks? But yeah, turns out they do. So for some weird reason, as we were kind of shooting this project, somehow it kind of gotten out into the world that Robert De Niro was doing an ad for Uber, and everyone's like, oh man, it's going to be Taxi Driver, isn't it? It's going to be like some crazy action film where he goes on like a psycho rampage in an Uber because it's Taxi Driver. And we had all of these articles coming out, and this was like a mental experience, I think. We've never worked on something that, we thought people would care about so much that there'd be leaks, and apparently there were like extras on the set being like, I know what it is. And then they were like, they were just making something up. None of it was true. Absolutely none of it was true. So everyone, and even had Martin Scorsese talking about it, like, oh, I wish they'd have told me they were making that. And it was like, okay, that's very surreal. So again, we're in this situation. It's a big freak out. Everyone's like, what the hell, what are we going to do? And then we're like, okay, that thing, embracing the process. We are where we are. If everyone's expecting us to make this big action movie, everyone thinks they know what the ad is about. It was never going to be that, so I don't know where all these people got it from, but whatever, not my problem. We're like, if everyone's expecting that, like, what could we do in this situation? I mean, the first thought would be like, oh, people think that's what it's going to be. Maybe we should give them what they want. Maybe we should make it action-packed. Should we put a Taxi Driver reference in there? Should we be like, oh, are you talking to me? And then put that in as like a shit joke. But then as we were all kind of discussing it, it was like, maybe there is something funnier we can do. We got that little look. Maybe there is something we can do. And as we kind of looked at it, we knew that everyone was expecting this big action-packed thing. And we were like, what if we just made it like really wholesome? And it was just really nice, and everyone's expecting this big action-packed thing. They're ready to shit on him, on De Niro and Uber, and they were like, what if it's actually just really nice? So yeah, we just did the opposite when everyone was expecting that. So I guess we can kind of let it play. Hopefully this works.
Hey, Robert, do you mind?
Yeah.
So, you eat food?
Do I eat food?
Yeah.
Yeah, I eat food. You eat food?
Yeah. I had food for breakfast.
Oh, good. Well, good for you.
Do you go places?
Do I go places?
Yeah. Places.
Yeah, I go places. You go places?
I love places. I went to this place just now.
Which place is that? Here?
Yeah. I was there, and then now I'm here.
You were there and you came here. Wow. Look at that. We both eat food and we both go places.
And that's when I knew I was going to be best friends with Robert De Niro.
Did you say something?
No.
I showed him Uber One, a membership to save on our two favorite things, eating food and going places.
Cool.
Which he thought was very cool. And then we did those things.
Boring. You don't like it?
No, it's not you. Really?
A lot of people don't realize that I started out as a magician.
No, really? Mm-hmm. Magician?
Yeah.
What?
No, it's gonna pull a quarter out of your ear.
Oh.
It's too late now. It's all right. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, it's very cute.
Cup holder.
Nope.
Car.
Nope. What is that? Wow. What is that?
It's my serving ritual.
Ouch.
We can be cats. I mean, not really, but you know.
But why would you want to be a cat? You're a human. Cats should want to be humans.
I'd quite like to be a cat.
Thank you, Naveed.
About 5 miles down the road here, I could take you to a great view.
Well, let's go.
Let's go.
Uber One, a membership for people who eat food and go places.
Yep, so it wasn't an action movie. No one got shot in the face, no explosions. So yeah, as we were kind of sat there in the edit, this news comes out and we're like, okay, well, we could try and, you know, lean into what people expected it was going to be, or we could just lean into it. How do we make something of that situation we found ourselves in? And yeah, so it was a pretty fun one. And people didn't shit on it when it came out, so that was nice. And yeah, I think so there's just a few more like examples of work we have in here that, again, it's, you know, sometimes when you see the work out in the world, you're like, yeah, cool, that's the finished thing. But then again, like looking at a brief like this, so this brief was basically from Nike, and it was about runners in London and amateur runners in London. It's like, it's actually really hard to be a runner in London. It's really shit. So how do we make something that speaks to them? And obviously, you know, you go through this process, you think, oh, maybe it would just be like a film, maybe it would be this, maybe it would be that. Like, let's just make it about runners in London. But then it was kind of like, well, if they're actually out in the world, they're actually doing stuff, they're actually running around, and how do we talk about the different things that they actually face? So it's like, it's not actually a normal poster, but people go out for runs early in the morning, so why don't we just put it on the shutters of the shop, and they'll only see it if it's like they're out for a run at 5 in the morning or whatever, or we put it on all the wobbly paving stones that are really shit in London. Again, like another thing that kind of, you know, playing into the sort of hand that we were dealt with, that sort of thing. How do you look at where it's going to end up? What's the truth? Where are you? Who are you talking to? So again, like more stuff on kind of the shutters. You know, how do you talk to them? How do you show that you understand them? So it's kind of like finding out what their process is, what their sort of truth is, and then meeting them there. And then there was, you know, posters about it as well. But yeah, so it was just really, again, like how do we look at the truth of that world and kind of dictate things for them? I'll go back to this one. And so there's another idea that we'd had as well. So this was a pretty recent piece. So basically, we got a brief from EA, which makes this game Split Fiction, which great game if no one's played it yet. It's basically a game where you can only play with 2 people. So they come to us, they've got this campaign, they're like, the game's going to be great, people will really love it, but there is a bit of a problem, and that is the fact that you can only play it with 2 people. So then as we kind of see the initial announcement trailers, we see on all those trailers, everyone's like, yeah, great, it looks cool. If only I had actually any mates to fucking play the game with, would be great. So then there was like a lot of people complaining about this stuff, and then we kind of saw those comments and we were like, well, if you need a friend to play with, what if we gave them one? Could be funny. And it was like, that's a really stupid idea. Yeah, sure, let's do it. Which is where it led to this idea, Friend Edition. So it's just a little quick film we made for this that we can play as well. Hopefully this works.
Our new kick-ass co-op game Split Fiction is here. And don't forget, with the Friends Pass, you only need to buy 1 copy of the game to play with your friend online. But I've heard your feedback. Some of you out there don't have a friend to play with. But don't you worry, I got you covered. Say hello to Split Fiction Friend Edition. Hey. The world's first game to ship with a real live friend to play with. You also wish you had a friend to play with. All right, I'll get you one right away. Or you could join our Discord and find a friend there. Probably a lot easier. Greg, in the box. Let's go.
Are you sure this is safe?
Absolutely sure. Don't worry, my friend. Let's go, let's go.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we put people in boxes. That was a weird one. But yeah, again, it was like we were in this kind of situation. You know, you have all these kind of comments there complaining. We kind of dug around, saw it, and we were like, okay, well, no one's done that before, and people seem like they really want a friend. So like, I don't know, give them one. So yeah, we did that, and people seemed to really like it again, and that was nice.
I think one thing that we learned as well from this project was, again, like Conrad's analogy of the car going down. There was a lot of hurdles and things that you know, like, was trying to disrupt the car and trying to damage the car, but at the end it's just like sticking to the purity of the idea. The idea is like, oh, if you need a friend, we'll send you a friend. So like, let's really stick to it and lean into it and make sure that this campaign looks real and looks plausible, and make sure that people think that, oh, they can get a friend. And so obviously, you know, shipping people in boxes, like, first thing that comes to your mind is like, oh, this is gonna be so dangerous. It's gonna go against so many like legal shit and stuff like that. But I think creatively, what we really need to do and really like, you know, like put the hammer down and make sure that, you know, we stick to the purity of the idea and take this through all the way. And you know, thankfully, our partners at EA and Hazelight, the game designers, were all really into it. And it's just like, if you go on to the next slide, just like, this is the boss with with a selfie of the boxes, and then it's just a really fun project when everyone is on the same page and like going through the process.
Yeah, and I think exactly like in I think what was really great with them as well, for example, is that they're also kind of like we said, of sort of trusting the process and embracing. Look, we know, we're all aware that this is the truth. People want a friend, so like, let's just, you know, fully go into it. So we, yeah, ship them around and out to people. We sent them to some streamers as well. So instead of like the normal sort of unboxing, we basically sent them a giant crate which they opened, and then they had someone come out into the living room, which people enjoyed as well. So again, it's just like, we just lent into it, went with it, and you know, that's where we ended up. It wasn't exactly where we necessarily expected at the beginning, but you kind of, like we said, take a step back, look at the problem. Okay, all right, it looks like that's kind of where we are headed, so let's go there. And then yeah, like another stupid idea that started out as what if we did this? That could be interesting. Is actually we made this project called Calf Crunch, which is the world's first English flavored breakfast cereal, which actually tastes like egg, bacon, and sausage, but like weirdly it kind of works. So it was like a kind of stupid sort of late night idea conversation, and we're like, actually, like English breakfast cereal, kind of funny. And then we kind of put together a little pitch for it internally at Mother. We spoke about it, and then it was like, yeah, let's just, like we said, that whole mantra of I think, I like, I make. We're like, could be cool. Like, let's just, it's something we want to see out in the world. We can't see this been done anywhere before, so let's do it. So basically, we worked with some food scientists to make this actual cereal. You see, it's kind of like the Lucky Charms version, but with little egg, bacon, mushrooms, and stuff like that. So very weird. Made that. That's what it looks like. And sent out to a bunch of people. We just found that turns out there's loads of cereal reviewers online, and that's like a really big thing. So we're like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's cool that people do that. So we sent it to them, and weirdly, they actually quite liked it. I mean, the Mirror didn't like it that much, but who cares? But yeah, again, it was like a silly idea. Something about like, that's a breakfast cereal thing. That's where breakfast is. Not been done before. Let's make it. And again, something we know nothing about is making games. But a few of us internally had this idea of, I'm sure all of you are probably familiar with the raw dogging trend, where basically you sit on a plane, stare at the flight map for hours just to kind of, I don't know, punish yourself or prove that you're hard. I don't really know. So again, we were kind of like, wouldn't it be funny if we made a game of that, of basically nothing but staring at a flight map? So again, we know nothing about games, but luckily there are some people at Mother who are much, much smarter than we are, who do know how to do that. So we actually put together this raw dog simulator game that effectively is, it just challenges you to look at a flight map for as long as possible, and it uses the webcam on your laptop to basically track your eyes. So if you look away for more than 3 seconds, you lose and you're out of the game. And then we had a leaderboard. And then again, in terms of like embracing it, we're like, okay, if this is a challenge about how long can you stare at the screen, we were like, what's the longest flight in the world? And I believe that's like something from New York to Singapore or something like that, which is like 19 hours. So basically the challenge is, we were like, is there anyone in the world who would do it and look at the screen for 19 hours? Turns out people have a lot of time on their hands, because 3 people actually did it. But again, it was like, again, really stupid idea. Well, we don't know how to make a game, but it would be kind of cool though. Okay, fine, how do we make it? So again, we made that, put it out in the world, and again, people like to see it. So I'll play this little video.
Have you ever raw dogged a flight? No? Well, now you too can ignore basic medical advice and experience the thrills and endless wonders of raw dogging an 18-hour flight with no headphones, in-flight entertainment, or even getting up to use the bathroom.
And release all of those sounds that are trapped in your mind.
With Raw Dog Simulator. It's a free browser-based game too, so no Game Pass necessary. Just enable your camera for eye tracking, don't worry about what Raw Dog are doing with the footage, and get raw dogging, you Sigma U.
Welcome on board this Raw Dog Airlines flight RD69 service from JFK to Singapore. Our flight time today is approximately 18 hours and 40 minutes. Please ensure your seat is in the upright position and that all phones, laptops, and sources of dopamine are safely stowed away. We kindly remind you that looking away from our flight map is strictly prohibited on this service. Failure to do so will result in being removed from the aircraft. So, buckle up, lock in, and endure the flight.
And then you sit there and stare at it for 18 hours. And again, there were all these kind of like sort of stupid little small ideas as well that came off it. So actually, if you do go to the website and do it, you can also add, I still have it on my phone, I don't know how to get rid of it. But basically, you can add the boarding pass from Raw Dog Airlines to your Apple Wallet, and so it just stays in there, and I keep getting it mixed up with my Ryanair boarding pass as well, a bit annoying. But yeah, so, and again, it was like a, can we do that? And then we have a creative technologist who's, again, very, very smart, a mother who's like, yeah, you can do that. And we're like, all right, fine, let's do it.
We always find ourselves bringing all these stupid ideas to the table and be like, what's the, to the point of this talk, because that was the worst that could happen. Turns out, I don't know if I can say this, but I better not say this. Nothing bad happened, actually.
It was actually, it was great.
It's really good. It's a really good project. All right, next.
Moving on. And again, another stupid idea we had. So not sure if there's any anime fans out there in the crowd. But so I don't know if you guys are familiar with anime body pillows, which is something a lot of people have. But we were like, oh, it kind of looks like an airbag. Wouldn't it be funny if we did a car company that will customize your airbag and turn it into a body pillow, so you have your favorite anime character there to save your life in a crash? And it was like, yeah, that's weird. Let's make it. And then so we made it, and we made a little website, and we made this video about the customization process. Someone at Mother, who's a big anime fan, kindly let us borrow their car to change the airbag. Oh, that didn't work. It's just a picture. Just kidding. Yeah, and then so we made some stupid content for it as well. I just wanted to let that music play because I like it. But yeah, so I appreciate that. That last bit was like a bit of a bombarding of just like our brain farts. But I think like hopefully the message that kind of comes through a little bit in there is that there will always be the kind of really crazy, unpredictable situations which can feel really stressful and can put pressure on it. But I think one thing that's really like cool about this job, and one thing we both kind of gravitated towards compared to the other backgrounds we came from, is that like you never know what situation you're going to find yourself in. And I think just trying to have a bit more of an open mind and embracing the fact that that might lead you to something like interesting or a bit different and like more like honest, that I think people will probably relate to, is really helpful. And I think that applies in terms of both to the work itself, but also I think for us in terms of our own journey as well, embracing the process. So I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, but this is kind of a graph that we almost kind of come back to. So basically the basic premise is, you know, you start off doing something and then you're kind of like, okay, this is totally new, I'm totally out of my depth, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. And then you kind of start learning, and you're like, okay, all right, I think I kind of know this. I think maybe I could do this. And you go up, and then as you're kind of a little bit into it, you're like, I'm so fucking good at this. I'm good. And then basically what happens after that is you realize, oh shit, I actually know nothing. So I think we were like in this kind of, process, like, you go through like, oh, you do a couple of briefs. Oh, I'm finally starting to understand how advertising works maybe at uni or whatever. As like a junior, like, okay, maybe we could do something. And then you start to realize there's actually a lot more that you don't know. And it can be one of those things, it's like, it can be a hard process. You go from making ideas at school and stuff like that, you have a total control over, and then you get out into the world and then you see that, oh, there are all these other factors, like there's factors like money, there's factors like leaks, all these things, and then you realize, oh, there's so many things I need to do. And then it's really easy to feel a bit deflated by that, which is the little dying guy down at the bottom. Sometimes it feels like we're still down there in that little hole. But then I think like after that, once you kind of say, okay, look, this is where we are, we're in this situation, this is how things are, you then kind of can just start looking at it and gradually working through that process to slowly over time, build a little bit more confidence, go through more and more of these kind of like crazy situations, and hopefully try and like learn a little bit from that. And I would definitely say we're nowhere near up there yet, but hopefully feel a little bit more like, okay, crazy things might happen, there will be ups and downs, but if we just kind of embrace it, hopefully, and we do something that we think would be fun and we would get enjoyment out of it, then someone else out there probably will get some enjoyment out of it. And that's kind of what we try to channel most of the time. And I guess the last little bit we will leave you guys with, if that we can somehow kind of wing it through all of these crazy situations, I'm sure you guys, who are probably a lot more talented than we are, can definitely do the same as well. So hopefully that is at least a little bit motivating and not doesn't put anyone off. So
yeah, I think if you have any like what ifs idea, what if you want to make a cereal and a English breakfast cereal, or what if you want to make an anime airbag, or what if you want to make a game, a raw dog simulator game, any what ifs you have in your mind, just go fucking do it.
Just make it, and it might turn into something else as you go through the process. But you will only know if you start trying to do it, and it might completely change shape as you go. But it's better to end up with a weird project you didn't expect to be something, as opposed to being left with nothing and more anxiety.
Yeah, and the first sketch of an idea is never the final one, right? It's like you got to trust the process and then like end up with an amazing like brand world or amazing campaign and stuff like that. So yeah, if us idiots can do it, I'm sure everyone here can too. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks guys. Any questions? Oh, go back. Someone's going back. I can come back to this. I'll leave this up now. But questions? Anyone? Oh, another microphone's coming.
So how did you two end up becoming creative partners and working together?
So to go back a little bit, so we both kind of went to St. Martin's. The degree we were on was actually graphic design communication. So that's both kind of what we thought we wanted to do, at least kind of going a little bit more to that kind of creative world. And then within that, the structure's changed slightly now at St. Martin's, but basically the first year you do a little bit of everything. You do some typography, you do some filmmaking, you do a little bit of advertising briefs as well. And then in the second year, you basically get the option to specialize. So then we both kind of seem to sort of gravitate towards the sort of the problem solving, and I mean, maybe it's just because we're like lazy and not really that good at anything. So we're like, the one that lets me do a little bit of everything, but I don't need to know anything. I think it's kind of what we both gravitate towards with advertising, that it's more about the concept and like the point of view at the heart of it. So we both decided to specialize in that. And then our tutor, she was really amazing, is a really, really great role model for us, basically encouraged everyone in the class to what she would term sleep around, not literally, but in terms of working with different creative partners in the class. So we basically worked with a few different creative partners in the class on different projects, saw how that went, but then I think when we worked together, I think after like the first project, we were like, oh, okay, we're kind of similar enough, but also like very, very different. But we both just like making stuff and like trying stuff out. So I think that's just kind of where we luckily met each other and we clicked. And then we have been working together since then. It's the longest relationship either of us have had. So even though he has kids. So yeah, that's how we met.
Thank you. And if I could be sneaky and ask a second question, out of all
Absolutely.
the projects you've done, which one is your favourite?
Tough one. You get that question a lot, but to be honest, I mean, maybe it's just a cop-out answer, but I think each of the projects have been like favorite parts for different reasons. I think I'm just a massive fucking nerd and I like games and stuff like that as well. So like the Laifu Waifu project ticks a lot of boxes for me and is like just really dumb and really funny. The same thing with like making games. Like I love gaming, so that's also something I really like. But I think they all kind of give us quite a lot of enjoyment for different reasons. I don't think I would ever say that there's like one project that perfectly sums thing up. Like the Friend Edition stuff was also fun, but yeah, sorry, it's not really answering your question. But
it's like asking who's your favorite child, I guess. I have a favorite. Yeah, I think so. But I think for me is maybe the Raw Dog Simulator one, because the turnaround for that was really quick, because obviously we had to jump on the trend. I think we came out with the idea and it was like, fuck it, let's just do it. Got a bunch of people in the company to jump on it. Thankfully, they had time to work on it as well. No budget, just did it.
Just do it, yeah.
And then, like the results were so good. Like there were so many people who were like really engaged with it. The industry, people in the industry were talking about it as well, because it was it was an interesting time because when we posted on LinkedIn, everyone on LinkedIn and everyone in the workplace were like playing it during work hours, which is really weird and really strange as well. It was but fun. But so I think, and also we have never done a game before, and I think it wasn't like a traditional advertising campaign at all. So I think it was it's probably
my favorite one is whichever one we are currently doing, basically. But yeah, hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. But
Thank you.
I think there's one at the front as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the talk. It was really refreshing.
Thanks for coming.
So at uni, I feel like I've struggled sometimes because you have to do a project in like 3 weeks, and then I start overthinking everything, and then I go for something really safe. So I guess my question is, if you have a really tight deadline from a client, for example, do you think that limits your creativity, and how do you kind of deal with that?
I mean, I think like tight timelines will always kind of like force your hand one way or another, and I think it's like one thing that obviously is a big thing in our industry is kind of like taste, and I think you kind of have to just sort of embrace a little bit of your own taste and be like, and the same sort of questions we try to ask ourselves is like, would I like it? Would I give a shit about it? Do I want to make this? If this is going to be something that maybe you only have a week to come up with the idea for the project, but chances are you're going to be making that project for the next couple of months. And if it's like, is there even any tiny bit of satisfaction I can get out of this? And obviously you'll kind of go through rounds of feedback. Like we said, that kind of the car rolling down the hill. Sometimes you might have to sort of correct your course as you sort of go through, that you're like, okay, I'm just going to go in, and I think as well, you should always go in with what you really want to make, and then maybe there'll be a bit of feedback that changes a little bit of that, but then it's always good to sort of be like, well, what's the win now? What's that one other thing I have in there that I would still really like? So if it's, is it this actor I want to work with? Maybe it's not exactly the film I want to do, but for me, it's just really cool to work with that actor, or I just really want it to be a game, so like maybe we have to change other things to still make the game, so do that. So I think it will always kind of change things, and it will always put pressure on your kind of creativity, but I think it's just, my main piece of advice would just be to ask yourself, what part of this do I like, and what part is the most important bit for me to hold on to? And it's kind of almost like having the skeleton at the center of the idea, and all the other bits around it can kind of change, but as long as you have that little kind of core bit that you like, I would say just at least try and have at least some part of it. It might not necessarily be perfect, it might not be what you fully imagined, but as long as there's at least one bit you can come away from afterwards and say, I at least really enjoyed that bit, I think that would just be, make sure you put that in there, and don't prioritize too much about it being perfect, because I feel like oftentimes the really good ideas aren't perfect. They're like a little bit wrong and a little bit right. So just make what you want to make.
Yeah, I think candidly as well, like both of us always come in clutch, like 5 minutes before the meeting or something like that.
That normally happens because you realize, it's like when someone asks you, like, I don't know what to do, flip a coin. When you start flipping it, when it's in the air, you're like, shit, I really know which one I want it to be. So I think sometimes when push comes to shove, it will sometimes hopefully reveal itself that that's really what I want to make. So, yeah.
Thank you for your talk. I feel like it's a constant state of change to this industry and everything in general, AI, figuring out how to get that client and get that job and stick with it. But I want to ask, what are you excited about the way that advertising is changing or brand experience is changing? Just like, what are you looking forward to in these coming years and stuff?
Big question. Not sure I'm qualified to answer that. But I think in general, I mean, in advertising obviously is changing a lot and has changed a bit since we started and is obviously changing now as well. But I think there's also like all the actual really important stuff won't change. Like people are still gonna not like brands talking to them unless they really like the brand, and people are also gonna have hobbies and have interests and have things they like and have things they hate, and like a lot of that stuff will kind of like stay the same. So I think there's obviously there's like a lot more means to an end, and maybe you can get there faster, and it is like, you know, you have all these AIs that let you like code stuff and stuff like that. So maybe it is the case that more people will be able to kind of have like these ideas and at least have slightly more tools at their disposal to be able to make it. I think that kind of will obviously like, at least from talking only from like a purely sort of creative perspective of like a concept being turned into a thing. I don't think a lot of those tools are like ever a replacement for like an actual person who knows what they're doing. But in terms of being able to either get to like an idea faster or to be able to sort of like dip your finger into like multiple different things, I think a lot of technology and stuff seems like it's really helping with that. It's like the same thing of going back in the days of advertising, people having to do like letterpress and stuff like that, and then now you have Photoshop come along, and then, you know, it's, you know, you get expected to do stuff faster, but someone who maybe couldn't have done that thing before or would have taken a long time to do that thing before now can. So it's nice that people are able to kind of like test stuff and move a bit faster. But again, I don't think that's necessarily gonna change tons and tons of stuff, and it at least won't change the principles. Maybe you get there faster, maybe you get there easier, but when the whole point of it is that we're still gonna be talking to people about stuff or trying to make people feel a certain way, I don't know, unless literally everyone's replaced by machines and they don't think about anything, then I don't know. I can't see it really changing much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that great talk. I was curious about something. So obviously the ideas you guys have are really cool and really quirky, and I really like them. It's almost like you are speaking to an instinct, which I really love. But the important thing is, because you're very quirky and very unusual as well, which is great, the question is, how do you get brands to trust you? The reason I say that, because I can imagine a lot of people are here with great ideas, but obviously we're all scared to do what we really want to do because we know we're not going to attract the right brands. We're scared that it will scare the people we know. How do we get that opportunity to go, okay, I have great ideas, but I really want to at least get paid for the idea. I'm having to conform or we're having to conform or play conformity game just to get noticed in the first place. How do you bridge that gap?
I think one part of it probably is like what we said up front, is like we have more shit ideas than anyone else, but in the sense of like, you just get them out, and it's by no means is this everything. This is like the highlights reel over like years and years and years. So like buried very shallowly in a shallow grave under all of these ideas is just like there's hundreds of ones which either didn't, you know, go exactly perfect. So that's also why we want to like stress that there are a lot of ideas that, you know, you have that are like not great or don't make the cut or whatever, and a lot of that stuff does happen. So it's always the case that the more like shots you take, eventually something will hit, and sometimes, like we said, not the right time, not the right brief, not the right client, that stuff always happens, and like we have a very full bottom drawer of ideas we wish that were the case and did happen and don't. But then also I think, to your point of like instinct, I would say is like partially instinct, partially taste, but sometimes I think it is like, how do you kind of work some logic into that? Because, for example, like with the EA thing, it's kind of like impossible to argue with the fact that when you look, you take a step back, you look at the truth, and it's not like we are externalizing that point of view. Like, you guys have no friends. It's like, they literally are saying, we have no friends. And then so you should kind of, it helps if you start from that one point of truth, because then even a super logical client can't argue with the fact that people are saying they don't have friends. Now, obviously, our solution to it, you know, is maybe like you said, like, is a bit quirky and is a bit weird, but at least you can kind of back it up with some kind of logic. So I think that's like a good place to start, and that's what we try to do as well. Is let's look at the hard facts and the hard truth of it, and try and really, in like an inarguable way, find out where we are, and then but then how do we respond to that in the way that we want to make and want to kind of do that. So I think, as you know, you can try and justify even the most dumb shit like we've done, but just making sure that, I think if you come from that solid starting place, it's kind of like the foundation of the idea, like the insight. If you start with that insight that is like, no one can argue with it, then that does open you up to be able to have like a lot of freedom. So I think it's like, it's not just necessarily totally out of nowhere and left field. I think it's just try and find that logic at the middle to build around, then you can have a lot more freedom to do what you want.
I think the other way to look at it as well is like, and a lot of fashion designers, product designers, you know, illustrators do it as well, is like, you have your style, you have your ideas, you have your concepts, you do your execution, and then clients will come. So you know, for example, like, we're doing all these weird ideas. They're not for any clients. They're just for us, and we just put it out there. And if a client out there that's, for example, a tire brand or a car brand, or, you know, be like, oh, that's a cool idea. Can we do that with you guys? Then we attach a brand to it. You know, a lot of fashion brands are doing that. You know, they do really cool fashion shoes. They just art direct it in a really cool way, but they are not collaborating with anyone until one day someone big comes on and be like, I want to work with you. So I think that's also another way to look at convincing a client to like to buy into your ideas and your direction.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, on that as well, like, another kind of side to it is the fact that when you start with that brief and you look at like the client, it is like, and for us in terms of that embracing the process, you know, oftentimes you get those briefs that like, it seems like a really cool brief because it's so open and they'll do anything, and then you're like, what do you want then? Whereas if you have like a really random brand with a really niche specific problem, you at least have that really fixed like starting point, and you're like, you can either look at it as sort of like a confined space, or you can look at it as sort of like the track that you can go along, and it might lead you somewhere. Then at least you have some direction and some purpose, that even if you end up at a really weird idea, you can still hold it up against the initial problem that you were set and say, I didn't expect the answer to look like that, but as I kind of go through this checklist of all the things I need to hit, I can't argue with the fact that it's answering the questions. Like you said, like, if there's a random tire brand, you're like, there's this one tire that like everyone thinks is really shit, but it's actually really good for this reason. Then at least if you have that kind of problem and that one fixed point to kind of like move around from and use as your point of reference, I think that will again really help. So it's not like by any means just a totally open goal. It's just, how do you look at where you are and make the best of that situation? Very long answer. Hopefully that makes sense.
Hi, thank you for the talk. I wanted to ask, looking back to when you just started as creative, struggling to find the first job and navigating the industry, what is maybe one piece of advice you would give that Connor and that Theo navigating the industry looking back?
So in terms of like being able to reach out to people and get in front of people, I think like one thing would just be, there's never going to necessarily be the perfect way to do it, but just do it as much as you can, and just try and take as many opportunities as you can to get in front of people. I know obviously that's not easy if you don't have the opportunities, but even if it's just like start going back to the point of like the stuff that you want to make. Like the initial piece of advice would be, find the work that you really like, then find the people who make that, like specifically like who's the creative on this, who was the creative director, who was the agency that made it, narrow it down from there. And like, again, people are people, people have egos. People love to, like, we all love to have a little bit of validation, like, maybe I'm not shit. And for someone to be like, hey, I saw this very specific piece of work. I know that you're the person that worked on it. That's really cool. I would love to hear more about it. I would love to talk to you about it. I think, again, it's like, you know, because sometimes you get people just very, like, cold calling, like, an entire agency, and everyone's going to be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But if it's, like, a very specific, again, it's talking to a person, I would say, like, start there. And, again, you won't always get a response. And, like we said, with that project where we had, like, hundreds and hundreds of ideas and hundreds of people giving us briefs, a bunch of them didn't reply. Like, a bunch of them, it was, like, ghosted, but a few of them, we had, like, reviews where we went to their office and, like, presented the idea that we came up with. And again, it was really, you know, stupid idea that was done in, like, 5 minutes, but at least, again, it's just a way to kind of get that FaceTime. And that was just because it was, like, just the pure, like, volume of how many times we did it. And again, it's just the same with the ideas that, you know, have as many as you can, put as many out there. Not all of them will hit. That's fine. It's like that. I would say there's never a surefire way to do it, but I would just say, in general, like a general rule of thumb, just at least go after specific people and kind of pick specifically what really resonates with you, and not just be like, hello, everyone at Mother, can I have a job? And then, like, who's this? And then, yeah, I think just find the work you like, and then there will be people that you'll like very close by to that.
Yeah, a mentor told us once that you know, it belongs to whoever wants it the most, and you should just, you know, go for it. Like, because I think just hounding them and spamming them with the emails and, like, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on emails, I don't think is wrong, because you want something, you know, you want this job, you want an internship.
Unless they send you a restraining order, then definitely.
Yeah. Unless you're none of that. But, you know, like, professional emails reminding them, hey, I'm really interested, you know, like, just show your passion for it. I think just go for it, yeah. Because the person next to you is going to be sending less emails than you, so then sooner or later, you know, you're gonna get it, yeah.
Hi. So in my third year of university, there was, like, a point where I was doing 3 projects at the same time, and it was really overwhelming, to say the least. So I wanted to say, does that happen in the industry? And if it does, how do you deal with working with multiple projects at the same time, but giving your all to each one, like your best work to each?
Yeah, it can happen. It does happen as well. I think it's like every so often, you know, you have, like, one single thing that you kind of really focus on. And again, it's like, we've worked in a few different places. We did work in Singapore for a little while, which is where Sherwin's from. Work ethic was, like, very, very intense, and we were doing, like, a lot of hours, and that was kind of mental. But to your point in terms of, like, jumping around on multiple projects, and again, everyone's very different. Everyone's process is super, super different. So, you know, I mean, I have a very, very short attention span, so I, like, jump around, like, a lot. So sometimes, I guess, when we're working on multiple projects, it's kind of like you won't always be able to be 100% enthusiastic about the one thing. I mean, again, this is just maybe I'm just, like, venting, and it's kind of like weird therapy. But, like, you won't always be able to give, like, 100% to that one thing, and then, like, finish it, and then move on to the next one, like a very linear thing, because it's just going to be hard to always channel that enthusiasm. And you might get to one thing, hit a bit of a roadblock, and then, you know, you can either just keep running at that roadblock, or you can be like, okay, maybe let's, like, pivot to this other one, step away from it for a sec, get a bit of perspective, start working on this problem, which, again, is a whole different scenario, whole different brief, forcing me in another different direction. Do that for a little bit whilst you're still enthusiastic on it. Then if again, running out of steam on that one, maybe jump onto the next one. And then by the time you come back to the other one, maybe you're like, oh, actually, you know, you've jumped around so many different headspaces. And then when you come back to that project, maybe you're like, oh, actually, now it kind of makes a bit more sense that I've had a little bit of distance from it. Again, that's speaking in a very general sense. Time isn't always the luxury. You know, ideas do take time, and you know, as you kind of get more experience, maybe you get a bit faster, but that's about as much as I can add.
You know, busy is good. You don't want to be sitting on your laurels and twiddling your thumbs, right? Like, I mean, like, R.I.P. the late Virgil Abloh, right? He's always working on 10 things at the same time. So, you know, I think, like, there are a couple of times where we have one project, we're on just one project for like 2 weeks or whatever, and it's a privilege and it's a luxury. But I think we also find ourselves like kind of struggling, like what is, like we want to jump, we overthink it and we want to jump to something else, but we are only put on one. So I think when we are I think for us, when we have 2 or 3 projects, it really works the mind, and you can be like, oh, you think of something here, but then actually this idea works for the other project, and you just bring it across, and I think things like that just happen naturally, and it's great that you're on 3 projects at once, but take care of yourself, and mental health is really important as well. So get the shit done, but also look after yourself.
All right, so we're out of time, unfortunately, but thank you, everyone.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.